Hey everybody, it's Big Pete here again, 850 Armor Works. Today we're going to be going through the belt tutorial. This one I might split into a couple videos. There's a lot to do on the belts. There's just a lot of little pieces. We can make it simple, you can make it hard, you can make it expensive, you can make it cheap. This is a finished adult belt, right? We got the ribbed rubber right here that's going to be included in the kit. You have 3 pouches with the plastic cover strips on top. There is a holster. We're not going to, the holsters, the bags are not included in this kit, so, and I'll address that later. I'm not going to be showing you how to make the holster because I don't know if you're downsizing your blasters, whatever. It's really simple to make one out of some scrap leather or whatever you want. You don't need one though. So this is kids armor, you know. CRL for adults, right? You have a holster. Kids doesn't need one. You can have one if you want, and I'll kind of briefly go over that. You got another box, the belt buckle. We have the cod piece attached to the belt. It just makes it a lot easier. Another box with a cover, and then a little pouch. I'm also not going to be going over how to make one of these. You can either figure it out or don't put one on it. I would suggest just not putting one on it. I happen to have this laying around the shop. This is just this is a piece off an MP40 magazine holster that goes on the shoulders. It's just the piece that we ended up that you cut off of it, and that's what I'm using. I would suggest go to a thrift store and see what you can find. It's just a black pouch, right? I'm gonna probably color in the thread, but that's all we're using for that. So this is the one on the adult. Yes, it's a requirement for the adult, not a requirement for the kids one, but it's pretty simple. And then another box. So we're gonna start the video off on kind of showing you what we get in the kit. You're gonna have 2 of these, right? These are the boxes. And I can't get this one off. That's this guy right here. It has a little strip right here, and it's just a box. It doesn't open. It doesn't need to open. Just a box. These ones are pulled. We're working on fixing the mold right now. We have to get it out of the mold. We have to cut it, but it's really easy to fix. This is a finished kids one. That's it. Really hollow, really light. We want to keep most of this as light as we can. Just because it's going on your kid, you don't want them strapped down with 50 pounds of gear. So we have that. You're gonna have 3 of these in your kit. These are the covers for those for the pouches that go on the belt. Here is a finished kids pouch. These ones open, actually they're hollow, and they slide onto the back of the belt. These are not included in the kit. I will show you how to make them, but these are not included. You only get the cover strip, or cover plastic. We have our cod piece that we cut out in a previous video, and that's what we're gonna do to get started. So to get started, I'm gonna start on the box. All you have to do is you're gonna see a line right here. See this guy? The line continues here and here on the bottom one, and all the way around. It has a pretty decent cutout line. We're just going to cut out here. If you want to make them really small boxes, you can cut off on that center line as well too. But we're going to make ours larger and go from here. So all I'm going to do is take my snips. I'm going to cut off a bunch of plastic so that I can do some scoring and snapping, because that's the method that I like best. You can do it however you want. Now that I cut off the base part, I'm just going to take my X-Acto and I'm just going to trace along the outside that line right here along the outside, and then I'm just going to do some scoring and snapping. I can't really get that in frame, so I'll do it and then I'll show you. And just while you're doing it, follow the follow the line as best as you can. I'm going to go back through and probably sand this flat, just because that's what I want to do. You don't have to do that. Okay, now that I got my lines, I'm going to just give it some relief cuts, because remember, the scoring and snapping does not work around corners. Just go through, bend the other way, pops right off. Bend one way, bend the other way, snaps off. Same thing, quick, easy. I'm left with this one because I didn't cut it, but we're going to do the same thing. Alright, now to fix this, this is really, really easy. Super glue, Insta Quick Set stuff, accelerator. All I'm going to do is I'm going to bend that back into shape. I'm just going to hold these lines together where they meet. I'm going to first spray my Quick Set, and then I'm just going to put a little bit of super glue right on the edge, and it will instantly set and fill those gaps. There you go. It's all set. All done. Oop, I need a little more in there. I spoke too soon. There we go. There we go. All right, it's fixed. Nice and more, a little more rigid. You can see on the inside. It's kind of just a pile of glue. But that's how I'm gonna do that one. I'm gonna take this to a sander. You could trim it with scissors or whatever you want, just to make it flat, or you just leave it like this. It's fine like this too. Just looks fine. All right, so that's trimmed out and fixed up. The next piece is the covers. These are really simple as well. If you have a belt sander, it does make some of these parts a little bit easier to just trim down and make flat. But again, you know, it doesn't need to be perfect. This is just a cover strip. You could cut it out from the inside if you wanted to. I like leaving a little bit of a return edge on it. I think it looks better. There you go, that's cut out. You could leave it like this if you wanted to. It's a pretty big edge right here. I'm gonna trim it down just a little bit. So, but that's that. You'll have 3 of those, so you got to do all of them. You could also do the scoring and snapping method. Again, I'm not going to tell you exactly what to do. I'm going to kind of try and give you options on how to build things. You figure out what works best for you. Got another one. Okay, so we got our box, we got our cover strips, and now we have our belt. So you're going to have in your kit this piece of rubber. It's the ribbed rubber. Same stuff that comes with the adult Death Trooper kits. The way that we're going to have to attach this is things do not like to stick onto this rubber. Super glue will work if you sand it first. You could glue it straight onto here. You could use some fabric glue. I got it over there. I'll bring it back in another video, or in another segment. But what we're going to do with the belt is we're going to get a random piece of plastic that's going to come in your kit. And we're just going to cut it a little bit smaller than our belt, so it doesn't show. So I'm going to do that real quick without spilling glue everywhere. And that'll work, just so it's smaller than the thing. It doesn't really matter the size. And then I'm going to get another piece, the approximate width of the belt. So I'm going to cut that down a little bit. There we go. And it's just ever so slightly less wide than the belt is itself. We are going to be drilling 2 holes through this guy and then basically through the entire thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to sandwich this belt in the center. Find the center first. You don't want this to be off. Found our center right here in the middle. And then we're going to sandwich the top part and the bottom part together, and we're going to rivet it together. Alright, so this is what I'm talking about by sandwiching. We have our little strip that's just a little bit smaller than here, because we want this centered right here, right? Well, the best way to get it to stick on something that's not floppy is to make it a little rigid. So what we're going to do is we're going to drill 2 holes through here, all the way back through to this piece, which will be hidden. I just wanted to show you that it is back there. And I mean, it could be the same size as this. It really doesn't matter. We're just making sure, you know, your back piece could be like here, right? It doesn't really matter. It's just whatever. So then go ahead and drill. We're going to drill 2 holes through here, and then rivet them together. And then what we'll do is we'll just super glue this onto that piece, and that's going to allow it to stick there without falling off. So I'm going to go ahead and drill some holes real quick, and I'll show you when it's done. Alright, so I've got everything riveted together. Just drilled 2 holes straight through the whole thing. Rivets, washers on the back side. I trimmed this down way more. I was thinking about it. I was like, you know, it really just needs to be about just a little bit bigger, maybe about it's probably about the same width of, yep, same width as, or same length as the belt buckle, pretty much. That's what it looks like in comparison. And then all I'm going to do is I'm going to put some super glue down there, center that up, and glue it. And that is how we're going to do that. But before I do that, you want to make sure you sand this piece and sand the back side of this piece. And we're also going to rub and buff this before we do it, because it is gray and it needs to be silver. So, yep. Alright, so for rub and buff, it's just a little tube. This little tube will last you forever. All I'm going to be using is the rub and buff and a sponge to kind of rub it in, and then just an old piece of cloth to shine it up. So I'm just going to put a little bit onto here, and then I'm just going to take the sponge and I'm just going to put it into it. This stuff goes pretty dang far and works pretty well. And it'll give it a nice look of metal without having too shiny of a piece from spray paint. It doesn't make it thicker. It just absorbs pretty much right into the surface that you're working on. So you can see I haven't rubbed and buffed there. That is much shinier. I just need a little more. Kind of work it way down into the cracks. So we're also going to be using the rub and buff on some other parts for the chest, but it's going to follow the same principles. So it's all rubbed on. Now my fingers are all shiny. That's that. We'll let that dry for a minute, and then we'll just take an old rag and buff it up. Once it's a little more dry, it won't take very long. And then we're just going to glue it down. Alright, now that the rub and buff is fairly dry, I'm just going to go ahead and take a cloth, and I'm just going to buff it. The more you buff it, the shinier it'll get. Do it to whatever standards you want to do it to. Make it shiny as you want. I mean, you could use paint too if you wanted to. Rub and buff's cheap and easy. And it gives it, I think, a more natural metal look than a spray paint would. And that's it. Sanded the back already. Make sure it sticks real well. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to put some glue onto my belt and glue it down. Get my quick set wherever that is. Spray, spray. There we go. Belt's all, the belt buckle's all attached. All right, and in the next part, we are going to take our box. I did go ahead and sanded the edges fairly flat. This is the finished one that I already did. And all we're going to be doing is just attaching a piece of nylon to it. So I got a little piece of nylon cut. Just glue it in pretty much. You want to make sure your loop is baggy enough, basically, so that it'll go over over the belt. So what might help is to glue one end, put it around your belt, and just kind of gauge where you need it to, so it can slide on and off for adjustments. So I'm just going to glue one side of this down real quick. Now, when you're doing this, you could very easily, also if you wanted to permanently attach it, just stick a block of wood inside of here, glue it in, and then just screw holes from the through the belt into the block of wood, and that would permanently attach it. So it's really however you want it. I like the adjustability. It allows you to take them on and off, or if you don't want to have them on anymore, it won't hurt nothing. So I got one end attached, and all I'm going to do now is I'm just basically going to make sure that I got enough slack in here so that I can get it on and off, and slide it up and down the belt as necessary. And then once I'm happy with that, I'm just going to glue it. There we go. It's one more belt box. Should, if I did it right, slide right on to the belt. Here we go. It's one belt box. Looks pretty good. It's adjustable. And that's it. Alright, in the next part, I'm going to be going over how to make these bags. Now there's going to be a couple options here. You can do it this way. This way is going to cost you more money. You're going to need some more supplies, but it's a functioning box. It's the exact same way that we're going to do the adult one too, just to save ourselves some money. I mean, you can buy these from somebody else if you want to, but obviously the cover strips are significantly smaller in the kids than they are in the adults. So you're probably going to need to make your own, because nobody else is going to have those sizes. Now, for options, we got our cover strips right here. You could use a block of wood, paint it black, you got a box. This is the easiest method. This will look just fine, paint it, good to go. You want to use craft foam. You could use, just some of the floor mat craft foam. I painted this stuff black. Ugh. Bam, craft foam box. Easy. Drill it, screw it onto it, glue it onto the belt, whatever you want. You can make this as easy or as hard as you want it. You know, again, look for comfort. This is going to be lightweight. A block of wood's going to be a lot heavier. You know, you need 3 of these boxes on the kit. This will be light. This will be heavy. This will be light and accurate, but it's going to consume a lot more time. To make these things, I've cut out a couple templates that I use here in the shop, out of just some just folders that I had laying around, and basically just took the inside dimensions of one of these covers and laid this out. And this is super easy to assemble. It's super, it's fairly cheap, because you just need to buy some of the fabric. You can use duck cloth or similar fabrics. This is what I'm using. I can put I'm gonna put the exact name of this fabric down in the section below, after I finish this video, because I can't remember the spelling of it. But duck cloth will work just fine. And that stuff's super cheap. Joann's, Hobby Lobby, you use a 50% off coupon. You only need maybe half a yard or less, you know, to make these. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut these out, and then I'll show you once I cut these out. For the measurements on this, it's 11 1/8 inches all the way across. It is 2 5/8 inches right here to here, and then each of these boxes right here are 1 1/4 inches. So if you're good with math, you can easily make that. I might put this into design something, and you can print it out at home. But this is I just made this from scratch just today, so it's not too hard as long as you kind of understand how to do math. If you want to take my measurements and do the same thing, you're more than welcome to. Like I said, this portion right here is 4 5/16. Same thing with this section, and then each of these sections is 1 1/4 inches. These are 1 1/4 cubes, and then this is 1.5 inches down from this portion. So right here to here is 1.5 inches, and then I just make a line from the edge over to here. This is going to be your back and the flap of the box, and then I have another template for the front of the box. And the front part is literally the exact same thing, boop, as this portion right here. From here down, they match up exactly. So, all right. So I'm going to go ahead and cut these out, and I'll show you how those assemble. All right. So I went ahead and I cut out my pieces. Got little flaps here. Here's my other piece. I've got the flaps like this and the flaps like that. These two pieces are going to glue together, and they're going to. This is the one piece that obviously is the larger piece. This is what it's going to look like when it's glued together, and then this is the other piece. That's all it is. And what's going to happen is you're going to take this piece, stick it into this piece. Actually, you're going to do it the other way around. Sorry. So that the seam is in the back. There's your pouch. Once it's glued together, you got a pouch. You could sew these if you wanted to. You're gonna have to make your own pattern. This is just the easy way to do it. You're never gonna know. Nobody's ever gonna know the difference. It's a kid's thing. I got a block of wood. I cut this one down myself. You can do whatever you want. Just use a block of wood as a jig, and you're gonna go ahead and glue the things together. So I'm gonna stick my wood block right here in the center. Take the sides up. So I got both of the sides up. Both of the sides up on that one piece. And then I'm just going to glue and stick that here. A little bit of accelerant, and this piece will pop out. So I'm going to do that real quick so you can see how simple this is. Make sure everything's lined up. And I like to pull these a little tight going down onto here just to make sure the whole pouch is nice and secure. I'm not afraid to get glue on my hands. If you are, this is probably not for you. And then I just spray some accelerator on the front, hold it, of course I glued a block of wood to it, it's fine. There, and that's one half of it. Go ahead and do the same thing to the other one. I'll use this side. So this bottom portion is exactly like the one I just did, so we're going to do it the exact same way. Now you can do this by hand, you don't need a jig. I did one by hand a couple days ago. This just makes it a little bit easier. A little bit of glue, a little bit of accelerator, and a little bit of peeling off because I got glue everywhere. That's that part. Now you got the top part. All I'm going to do is I'm going to flip it around. And I'm going to do the same thing. I don't know if you can see, but yeah. Go ahead and put this one up on here and this one up on here. Seems good to me. Let me go ahead and glue it. Then take the top flap, push it on and over. And put a little bit more glue into here. Since my finger was in the way, it didn't really show. And that is the top portion. So as you can see, this is your flap, and that's it. All you're going to do is you're going to glue that other piece into it. Alright, so I'm going to grab my jig, and I'm just going to set it inside the part with the flap. Push it down towards the edge. Again, you can do this by hand, and I expect most of you probably will. This is just making it a little bit easier for me. Alright, so now that I got that on there, this one's going to go over the top of everything around here. Just like that. So that when the flap goes over, the seam right here is towards the back and it's not shown. So now that that's over, I'm just going to kind of cinch everything down onto it and then glue it from here. Because it's a little bit difficult to glue otherwise. This is where I ran into the most trouble doing it by hand, was assembling both of these together. So I'm just going to try not to get glue everywhere I don't want glue. Glue the back, a little bit of accelerant, glued my finger to it. That's nice. Just put a happy little fingerprint over here. Tuck it back down onto itself. some more glue on the other side. Is this the prettiest thing? No, but you know what? It works really well, and it doesn't cost an arm and a leg. You can get a lot of these things from different places. Trooper Bay has them. You're looking at spending like $80 on a set of 3 of these. Yeah, probably about as much as you did on the armor to buy all the soft goods for this belt. I mean, it's the little leather pouch, I think, is like $60 or something like that. That's why I kind of said, you know, do you want it? Do you need it? Are you looking to spend, you know, double the amount of money on all these little pieces for your kids' armor, or do you just want to do it yourself? That's up to you. There we go. That's a perfect little box. So everything's all on it, and then the last step is to take one of our cover plates. All we're going to do is we're just going to glue the flap section right onto it. So I'll do that real quick. Just kind of spread some glue all inside of it. And it's always a good idea to make sure that you cut everything right before you start gluing everything. So hopefully by this point you've already made sure that everything fits inside of itself with your pattern. Alright, there you go. There's a belt pouch. If you want, you can stick some Velcro onto the front here and the front here, just to, you know, make sure it all stays together right. On the back portion, we're just going to take some nylon again. We're just going to cut ourselves just a little bit of it to go basically from the top just down to the bottom. Make sure you burn your edges so that it doesn't fray. Alright, normally I would do this with a soldering iron, burning a couple holes in it, but I don't have a soldering iron here, so I'm just going to take my smaller drill bit. Alright, now that I found my drill bit, I'm just going to pop a couple holes in here without trying not to mess the fabric up too much, because the drill bit will snag onto it. I'm actually just running it in reverse. Oop, see, that'll happen. Well, let's see if I got a hole. Again, this is much easier with a soldering iron or something. I just don't have one here. There you go. Hole. And a hole. Alright, so basically these are going to go through the back portion of the pouch. Right up at the top, and then right up down at the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Actually, take my scissors on this one. Alright, so we got one. Stick a washer on it. Take our rivet gun. And there we go. There's one of them. And then the second one, we're going to do the same thing. It's a little bit harder because it is inside of it. If you wanted to do put the rivets on beforehand, that might make your life a little bit easier, but I didn't think about it until just now. So, you know, you get what you get when you don't plan ahead. Yeah. When in doubt, just put a hole in it. There we go. Is it the most technical? No, but you know what? It works. Is there better ways to do it? Probably, but this will work just fine. There we go. Stuck our washer on. We're gonna rivet this on. And we actually have a visitor here. If you guys are not familiar with the new Han Solo movie, they have something called the Mud Trooper, right? And we have a little sneak peek for you if you guys want to see it. So here we go. This is the 850 Armor Work prototype for the Mud Trooper. I think it's pretty accurate. You guys can be the judge. But yeah, I think pre-orders are going open on this pretty soon. So make sure you're following the page, and we'll be back with you. All right. So since we got all the boxes attached and everything built out, all we got left is the cod piece. And all we're gonna do right here is I got a 3-inch piece of nylon. You can use 1.5 inch, whatever you want. You're just we want it to be able to flap so it's more comfortable. So all we're going to do is we're just going to glue about halfway up or so. We're just going to glue this whole section on onto here. So I'm going to place my glue onto the plastic. It doesn't really matter. And down around here. Accelerate it because I don't want to be sitting here all day waiting for glue to dry. I'm gonna put a little bit more just around the edges and stuff, just to make sure that it doesn't like come off when it's bouncing around. And that's all I did right there. So now we got a nice flappy piece, and then all we're going to do is we're just going to glue this so that this seam right here, this bottom portion right here, is just basically just touching. So you want this piece kind of hidden on the belt. So and then all you want to do is you want to just glue this top edge. You don't want to glue the whole thing because then it's just going to be solid again. So you need a little bit of room for maneuvering. So we're just going to basically line those edges up. The belt to there, center it as much as possible, and we're going to glue it right to that piece of plastic that we need to sand first, because you always need to sand before you glue. All right. Good catch, everyone. All right, line that back up. Looks good to me. Get some glue on there. Put it down, get some accelerator. some more glue around the edges because we don't want this sucker falling off. And there we go. You have a kid's Death Trooper belt, all sized appropriately. So, the only step left is to obviously size it for your child, and then just get some Velcro. The only stuff that's going to stick to this is really the fabric glue and the and super glue. You're going to want to sand it first. So we have some Velcro right here. You're going to want to scuff this up as much as possible before you put the super glue and the Velcro on, because stuff doesn't like to stick to this rubber. You could rivet this stuff on. I mean, you just need to secure it somehow. I will probably just super glue mine down and hope for the best. Super glue hasn't really let me down too many times in the past, and it seems to be holding up. So that is going to conclude the belt tutorial. This is definitely one of the more I would say probably one of the more difficult pieces to finish, just because there's so many different skills involved. There's the pouch making. You got to do all the trimming for the plastic. You got the belt. You got rivets. You got a lot of stuff. So make sure when you're out shopping for parts, make sure you get yourself some nylon webbing. Get yourself some rivets and a rivet gun if you don't have one. It makes this much easier. Soldering iron helps burn holes through the nylon if you need a hole in it really quick instead of trying to drill it like an idiot like myself. You know, pick up some washers for your rivets, because you want to make, since you're riveting on fabric and things like that, you want to make sure your rivets stay in and don't pop out. They will definitely pop out of fabric without a washer on the opposite side of your rivet. You know, there's different ways to do this, whether you want to make those belt boxes or you want to do something just cheap and quick, some foam or some wood. That's up to you. We'll kind of try and leave this open for you know, your own options and everything. But again, the belt boxes are not included in the kit. Only the covers are, as well as all the leather parts that I put on. You're going to get the two square boxes and then the cover pieces, the belt buckle, the belt part itself. You'll get that. So plan accordingly on how you want to finish out the belt. If you have any questions or anything, let me know. You can drop a comment below. Subscribe to the channel if you could, as well as going and checking out 850 Armor Works on Facebook. They'll also be able to answer any questions that you have. So that again concludes this video. Thanks for stopping in. The next videos that we're going to do are going to include some of the strapping and final tweaks to the armor to get it ready. So stay tuned till next time, guys. Thanks.